There's a strange comfort in not acting. You get to feel responsible without having to be exposed. Uncertainty is usually framed as the thing that stops us from acting. But the more I've paid attention to it in my own life, the more I've realized that uncertainty isn't the problem. Inaction is. And while uncertainty doesn't cause inaction, it reveals it. When outcomes aren't guaranteed, something interesting happens. We don't freeze completely. Instead, our energy gets redirected. We start thinking instead of moving, planning instead of starting, optimizing instead of committing. It feels responsible. It feels intelligent. But nothing actually changes. This is what overanalysis really is: displaced action. Not laziness, not a lack of motivation, just movement that never leaves the mind. When uncertainty shows up, it strips away guarantees. And when guarantees disappear, we lose our favorite hiding places. We can no longer say, I'll start once I'm sure this will work. I'll create once I feel more confident. I'll commit once I know this is the right path. Because the truth is, that certainty never comes before action. So when uncertainty is present, whatever we default to instead of acting reveals what we're actually avoiding. Often, it's not the task itself, it's the emotional cost of the task. We avoid starting because we fear failing. We avoid creating because we fear being seen. We avoid committing because we fear missing out. Uncertainty doesn't create these fears. It simply removes the excuses that allow them to stay hidden. People often talk about taking the road less taken, as if it's about bravery or clarity. But most of the time, the decision isn't blocked by logic. It's filtered through habit and comfort. When the path forward is unclear, your nervous system doesn't ask, what's right? It asks, what's familiar? So we fall back on what we already trust, thinking instead of doing, preparing instead of entering, staying invisible instead of risking exposure. Comfort tends to masquerade as wisdom, not because we're weak, but because our bodies choose what it's rehearsed before. We don't rise to intention, we fall to conditioning. This became especially clear to me through chess. You could study every opening, learn every tactic, watch hours of theory, and it all feels productive. But the moment you sit at the board, it all falls apart. Because intuition doesn't come from knowledge alone. It comes from exposure, from making moves under pressure, from being wrong in real time, from seeing patterns emerge through experience. Because no amount of thinking replaces contact with reality. And life works the same way. Learning and thinking will only take you so far. Action is what aligns intuition with reality. This is where faith becomes important, not as belief, doctrine, or certainty, but as orientation. Faith for me isn't about knowing how things will turn out. It's about trusting enough to move without guarantees. It's a relationship with the unseen, a willingness to act without controlling the outcome. Because if everything were certain, action would be unnecessary. There would be no risk, no growth, no meaning in choosing. Faith doesn't remove uncertainty. It teaches you how to walk inside it. It allows detachment from outcome, not apathy, but freedom. Movement becomes possible again. Uncertainty isn't something to eliminate. It's something to learn how to live with. It removes excuses. It reveals avoidance. It shows us what we trust when we can't be sure. And when we stop waiting for permission that doesn't exist, action becomes honest, not confident, not perfect, just real. If everything were certain, action would be unnecessary. Faith exists because uncertainty exists.